All right, guys, I have to admit, the only reason shows like this can exist and shows like this can get views are because of idiots like the one I'm about to show you right now, okay? Washington Post columnist argues Biden should replace Kamala Harris with Hillary Clinton. This is an idea straight from the bowels of hell. The Washington Post's Kathleen Parker had a wild idea to solve the age issue for President Joe Biden's campaign this November: replace Vice President Kamala Harris with Hillary Clinton. Parker's reasoning for the running mate switch starts with the bad popularity numbers for Harris. All right, let me just stop you right there. Hillary's numbers aren't good either. She lost an election to Donald Trump. What am I going to do with these people, man? Inarguably, a significant obstacle to a Biden win is Kamala Harris, whose low popularity has not been improved by her lackluster performance as vice president. More independents and disenchanted Republicans might swing for Biden if it weren't for the prospect of a President Harris. Not because of her sex, race, or any other demographic category, but because of her competency or lack thereof. I love the idea that the thing that will make independents and disenchanted Republicans vote for Biden is bringing back Hillary Clinton. If independents and disenchanted Republicans liked Hillary Clinton, she would have been president. And she's not. She wasn't. Parker instead suggests that Clinton, who is 76 years old, would make a logical substitute for the current VP, who is 59. Her argument began with Clinton's endorsement of the pro-Israel George Latimer, who is running to replace the liberal representative Jamal Bowman in a Democratic primary this summer. We are left to speculate about motive, but the effect of Clinton inserting herself into the news cycle is to remind voters that, but for her defeat in 2016, we wouldn't be stuck in this old white men dilemma. She is also reminding people of her relative centrism, her support for Israel, and her broadly respected role as Secretary of State. Oh my God. No one has mentioned her as a possible running mate for Biden, so far as I know. But why not replace Kamala Harris with Clinton? At 76, she might want no part of it, but it's hard to retire when you feel your job isn't done. Again, I love the idea that, her endorsing Latimer is reminding people of her centrism and her support for Israel, which, is very popular and would make her electorally viable. Who are you kidding, bro? Who are you kidding? Biden is centrist McCentristington, and he's getting clobbered in the polls. He has a 37% approval rating. Every single poll on the issue of Israel and Gaza has an overwhelming majority of the American people, including Democrats, independents, and in some polls, Republicans, at the very least a plurality of Republicans. They want a ceasefire. People want to cut off the money. They want to cut off the weapons that we send all the time to Israel. Why would you bring up this issue as, see, this makes her popular? She has the exact same position as every other establishment ghoul who's positively despised by the entire population. That's why we should put her in. God, man, I can't handle this. I can't handle people like this, bro. I can't do it. Just because you have some dumbass corporate mindless establishment talking point that you shit out of your mouth doesn't mean everybody should have to hear it. Really? This is your solution? Bring back Hillary? And that'll make it so that, hey, they're slam dunk now, electorally viable. It's like, let's go back to the bench of the same fucking losers who are responsible not only for the Democrats being wiped out politically, but also for the policy failures of the Democratic Party. Guys, in a world that made sense, any Democratic candidate would be up 15 points on convicted felon Donald Trump right now. Guy who tried to overthrow the last election. Guy who overturned Roe versus Wade with his Supreme Court picks. Guy who's got extremism written all over him in 37 Ways to Sunday. Guy who says stuff like, suspend or terminate the Constitution. You can't beat that guy? You're dead tied with him in the polls right now? What does that say about you? The Democratic Party went from FDR winning the presidency 4 different times, having 80% of the House and 80% of the Senate, respectively. They went from that to, hey, maybe if we're lucky, we can take this geriatric freak and weekend at Bernie's him across the line to beat the convicted felon who wants to usher in fascism. That's where we're at. That's what we're doing now. And your best idea to improve the ticket is to replace one unpopular vice president with another unpopular person who lost the presidency to the guy you're running against now. By the way, this will be the most important point. It's only people like this who get the jobs in mainstream media. The Washington Post only hires losers like this. That's who gets to climb the ladder. The dumber you are, the more wrong you are, the more establishment groupthink you have, the higher up you go. That's how it works. It is a race to the bottom. It reminds me of the Iraq War era. Every single person who went out there and said, this is a great idea, this is a wonderful idea, if we take down Saddam Hussein, we'll have democracy in the region, and everybody will thank us for it, and they'll have parades, and they'll say, hooray, United States. All of the people who made those arguments, they're the ones who are now, decades later, these are the people whose fat faces are on TV, and they're making predictions for the future. You fail up in mainstream media. That's what happens. It's not about how right you are. It's not about how close you stick to the facts. It's not about how good your predictions are. It's not about being in touch with the views of the American public. It's the opposite of all of that. It is who could be the biggest smug elitist prick, who can suck up to the powerful the most, who can paper over the objective failures of the Democratic establishment, who can come up with the worst possible fucking idea. That's who makes it to the top. And that's why you get an article like this. Unbelievable. They're coasting off of their name recognition and their legacy. Like the Washington Post, the New York Times, all these horrific outlets at this point, they're coasting off that. CNN, they're all coasting off that. But they're jam-packed full of a bunch of idiotic, talentless freaks. And this is Exhibit A in that debate. Hey, y'all, do me a favor and like and subscribe. It helps out big time in the algorithm. Click the bell as well for notifications when videos drop. And watch that video on screen right now. You know you want to.